on this computer.
Okay, we got the notice, so
Okay.
saying it's being recorded. Okay.
Perfect. Well, welcome, Brian and Jasmine. I'm glad you're here. Thank you guys for being here today. And I'm excited to talk with you and learn a little bit more about why you're here. I'd like to hear from both of you on your thoughts on why you're here and what your goals are.
Well, um, I think for us, it's, maybe this is a revisitation of, obviously you saw in our intake forms, we had a considerable amount of strife early in our marriage. And, um, I'm gonna speak for both of us and you can correct me if you feel I'm saying something out of place. But we both had I mean, actually, I'm quoting what our first counselor, or not our first, actually, our third counselor told us. We both had a very good idea of what we did not want, but we had not defined for each other what we did want. But that it was obvious that we were deeply committed to each other. And we were, because we had gone to 3 different counselors over the period of 4 years. And I mean, it was pretty rough. But we came out the other side. I think our marriage was healed. I mean, I don't think it was. It was, and I think now it's just a communication. It doesn't seem like things flow the way they did for a good while. It was, conversations were free and easy, and we could just talk. And I don't know, there was a lot more communication was better. And sometimes it feels strained right now. Communications are awkward, conversations are awkward. There's a lot of misunderstanding. Um, Anything you want to add to that?
Uh, just that our communication should get better, needs to get better now. It's not like it used to be. So need to work on getting back uh in the same groove of how we communicate. That's it.
Cool. And so if you had to, both of you, if you had to verbalize what your goal is for therapy, what would it be?
I'll speak up to um listen to what the other person is trying to communicate before assessing, making a prejudgment about it.
Brian, is it the same for you?
I think so, yes.
Okay. What are the positive aspects of your marriage? The most positive aspects?
Well, we share the same values and belief system, and we both want the best for the other person. And I think we share a lot of commonality with our upbringing. I think that's what helps us, is that we have admiration for one another.
Yes. Yes, when we're pulling together, everybody better get out of the way. When we're
Yeah.
pulling against each other,
I still should get out of the
everybody
way.
still should get out of the way. Something's gonna break.
And now I just want to hear a little bit about your history. How'd you guys meet? Tell me a little bit about your journey together.
I'll communicate. So we both were going to UTSA in San Antonio, and we worked at the same academic center. I worked as a receptionist, student worker, and he worked as a tutor. And then eventually we bumped into each other, just having mutual conversation about music. And then I was like, oh, I think I would like to get to know him a lot better. So I reached out to him and asked him if he basically wanted to hang out. And then from there, we were pretty much inseparable from there. Um,
Yeah, went on our first date, never left, never broke, never separated after that. It's kind of funny.
yeah.
Cool. Okay. How important is it to incorporate spirituality or a sense of your belief system or faith into counseling for you guys, if at all?
Well, I don't, it's mixed, right? I mean, our first counselor was an Episcopal priest, and he was horrendous. I'm sorry. He just took our money for about 2 years. The second one was a Baptist preacher's wife, and although she was well intentioned, I don't think she had the toolkit that she needed, at least not to deal with us as a couple. Maybe other couples, not us. The third person, it's funny you asked it because I'm seeing a pattern here and I never put two and two together. The third was a legit PhD psychologist who was staff at a United Methodist church in San Antonio. And that man, I believe, through God, healed our marriage, you
Yeah.
know. And so while it wasn't something that we sought out, it happened, right? Now, whether that just be providence, I don't know, but it wasn't something that we sought. Is that accurate?
Yes, that's accurate. I think the ones, for us personally, the ones that came from the church did not give us real life answers to struggles. It was, oh, well, we argue about this, but you got to turn the other cheek. And I'm like, okay, well, we turned the other cheek and we turned it back. So now what?
Yeah,
They couldn't give us real life answers to our situation because we were going to church, we were reading our Bible, we were doing everything correctly. But the people that were counseling us, I just felt like they didn't give us real answers to real issues. They kind of sugarcoated. And so I think with the Methodist, the counselor who was at the Methodist church, he wasn't there because he went to the church, and he wasn't there because he was there as a location, if that makes sense.
yeah. It wasn't that he was
Trying to, as a member, trying to say, oh, we want to keep you as a couple because we also want you as church members. It was, we want you to heal just because you're a couple. That's
yeah,
what felt like their goal, his goal was. He looked beyond, we want to keep you as members, or we want to invite you to our church. It was, we just want Brian and Jasmine to do well. And now I think was the difference, was he actually saw us as a couple who wasn't trying to save our souls. It was trying to save our marriage. That was why we were there. He remembered the goal.
yeah.
And Brian, the therapy that you said was responsible for healing your marriage, what do you think worked well about it?
Well, he helped us define what it was that we wanted. Like we had never laid that out. We both knew because of our upbringing, oh no, I'm not putting up with this. I'm not putting up with that. But we never could or never did articulate to each other what we wanted.
Mhm.
And so he helped us define that. And he helped us, I think, with communication as well. And then I think there was some other things at play too. Um, I mean, my sobriety was, I hate to say, well, it was a big part of it. I've been sober already when I met Jasmine for 3 years at that point. And there's a lot of things in AA that are just designed for living, just like the Bible. And it's all about keeping your side of the street clean and whatever. And when I would talk to Jasmine about that in the beginning of our relationship, she was basically like, well, I don't have a problem, you do. But then after a while, one of the ladies that I met at my meetings who cleaned houses, she started talking to Jasmine, and then Jasmine snapped, and she got you know, the cleaning her side of the street thing. And I don't know, things are coming, and that all happened at around the same time when we were going to this counselor at,
Yeah.
and, and I mean, that was all God, you know, that was all God, like bringing things together at the right time. Um, so I think the two things mostly were, one, defining our vision for our marriage, what we wanted for each other, what we wanted from the relationship, and um truly being able to admit fault, right? And, you know, apologize, completely owning our part, not the others, not expecting an apology back, or, you know, not saying, I'm sorry I did this, but when you, well, okay, that's not an apology. So once that bridge was crossed, I mean, our marriage was, it was awesome, you know, I mean, yeah.
Is there any, sorry, please go ahead.
No, that's it.
Um, is there anything, any pattern that you guys have noticed or observed that when you do have trouble communicating at times, is there any pattern to it that you noticed?
Well, I know lately, and I think honestly, I think you know, Jasmine shared with you she tried hormone therapy, and and I will say this, you know, early on too, one of the things that uh Jasmine, I mean, when she would have her menstrual early on, it was bad, and to the extent that she agreed to, can I tell her about
Yeah,
med?
sure.
She agreed to go on medication. And I will say this, that really leveled her out too. And one of the things is that recently when she tried this hormone therapy, and I'm not trying to be funny, but there's this certain look, this certain gleam or glare, whatever you want to call it, a glassy eyed look that she used to get before when she was on her menstrual, before she got on medication. And I, you know, jokingly, I would call it the crazy eyes. And the thing is that that person came back while she was on this hormone therapy. And it scared me. I was like, whoa, hey, oh, she's back, you know. And at the same time, I'm trying to be supportive and sympathetic. And then I'm also, you know, because this has been in order since what, September-ish, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think I got off track here. What was it? I'm trying to answer the question. What was the question?
Pattern.
Pattern, yeah, that the pattern. So um, and so the pattern is me trying to manage, you know, I call it walking on eggshells. And then she picks up on that too.
When he tries to manage.
Yeah, so she picks up on it. And so then now we're like those two dogs circling and sniffing, right? Like, okay, what, you know, what's going on here? And it's a very uncomfortable place. Um, and it takes me back to the bad part of our relationship, and I'm sure it probably does you too, you know. And so then we withdraw. That's easier than trying to address it. And I think we've done a better job lately of not withdrawing. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So,
Jasmine, do
and
you experience the pattern the same way?
No, I don't experience the pattern the same way. Um, I feel like I said, I don't like to be managed, and I feel the presence of being managed. Like when he comes in, I can tell he's like trying to assess, is this a good time to come in? And it's like I feel that filler out. And so I feel that pattern of trying to fill me out, and I don't like it because to me, the way I grew up is like I feel like it's not genuine for me personally. I just think if you come in a situation, at least in my surrounding, you got to come genuine. Like, don't just. But again, I can understand if the other person's like hesitant of not wanting to get, their head chewed off. Like, I don't. I think that's the pattern for me is feeling like someone is assessing the situation before they approach it. And I can feel it like leading questions. That's a pattern for me, I feel. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, that's helpful. Brian, what do you think makes your relationship function well presently?
When we are honest, like just, and yeah, I mean, honest, really, just open communication and just hearing the other person all the way, and uh, one of the things that I'm a proponent of is, and I don't have to do it now. I used to write letters to Jasmine because it forced her to hear me out all the way. And because, emotions get in the way and, oh, but you said, and then they're mad. And then now the conversation doesn't happen. So nobody gets to go through to completion with what they're trying to say or what they're trying to get across. And the thing is that I feel like we do a pretty good job now of letting the other person have their say so that we can understand where they're coming from, you know,
Okay.
like putting emotions in check just long enough to hear what they're saying.
What was
Jasmine, what do you think makes your relationship function well?
I think uh the spirit convicting us of, oh, that didn't come. I mean, even earlier today, I said something to Brian. He was just asking a question, but it was very blunt. And then he walked out, and then something just said, "Oh, do you think that was the best way to say to how you said that?" And then I apologized, but then Brian was honest enough to say, "Well, what about, how do you think you basically handled the rest of the conversation?" And then I told him I didn't get it. Like, I really didn't understand what I said wrong. And he was like, well, imagine you said it like the same way you said it to a coworker. So I think conviction, spiritual conviction, and I think also listening to the situation if you're talking to someone else, like giving an example of if you're working with someone, would you have said that to them? And then you're like, oh, okay, I wouldn't. Because then sometimes you have to remember your partner is your friend. So you can't talk to them any kind of way and think they'll be okay with it. You still have to use, which is what I still have to work on, is finesse. I have to, you know, I can't just be blunt about it. I have to be tactful.
Yeah. We just have a couple more minutes. But kind of I just wanted to share that something that's very apparent to me is that you guys are very open with each other, seemingly very trusting of each other. And you both in your communication, at least in this conversation, you both seemingly take responsibility for a role, for how you may contribute to an issue that you both identified. So I think that's really, really positive, really encouraging. So I think that's great. And is there anything else that you feel that it is imperative for anyone that's working with you guys or partnering with you guys in anything that I should know or that they should know about you two as a couple or as individuals?
Um, Sometimes being an interracial couple, I don't think not everyone can handle an interracial couple situation. I think some people would like to approach it as I don't see skin color, but that's not how our relationship works. You have to see what I'm going through as a Black woman, and my husband has to see what I'm going through as a Black woman, in order for our relationship to work. And he also has an understanding of what it is now to be an interracial couple. So anyone who approaches us, I think that's what something they can't uh, neglect when they approach us. It is part of our who we are as a family, as a relationship. You can't just see, I don't see color, I just see a husband and wife, and it's like, no, that's just not us. Because I mean, that's not what Brian and I deal with. We still go into restaurants and people still look at us and shake their heads. You know, I still have to look at my husband and hope that my husband will have a problem with that as well, not look and like brush it off as, oh, they just don't like us because of Brian and Jasmine.
Hell, you already know better.
And that is not my husband. Sometimes I have to rein him in and say, no, can't handle it that way, dear.
No, we don't have bail money right now.
So I think people have to, when they approach our relationship that way. I also think with our relationship, we both are very honest about the fact that we take and anxiety medication and medication. Like we're not ashamed of that aspect of our relationship. I'm was on Prozac for several years, and he was on
I was on Prozac, and then I went to Zoloft.
yes. So that has helped our marriage, and we don't want someone to assume that something like that would not be beneficial to us, because we know it benefits us. So we're being an interracial couple, and then the fact that we both have utilized medication to help with our anxiety, our emotions of how we deal with our relationship.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I think also too, though, one of the things another thing that anybody that would be working with us would need to be acutely aware of, even though we have developed coping mechanisms, and I don't want to say, I guess we have put it behind us both, but is a significant amount of childhood trauma, like just insecurity as children, and family strife, and just, I mean, we joke, but like, our kids have no clue. We joke, we're like, look, we know what it's like. Each of us knows what it's like to have the SWAT team at our house, so a lot of people don't have that in their background, and so
We have layers.
yeah. I mean, it's just, and it's funny. I mean, and then she jokes. She's like, "No, people look at me and they make assumptions. He's the thug. His family, I mean, I'm the one that's got the banditos, and I got it all in my family, every brand of crazy, But like she says, they'll just stay at my family. They just try to hustle you. His family, on the other hand, ooh, so. But yeah, there's a lot of just dysfunction in each of our homes growing up, father figures that really weren't present. Um, you know, I mean, her mom, I never met her mom, God bless her, but she was a kind lady. She did everything she could to help people, but she had her problems, and then there's my mom, who, God bless her, I love her, but I can only take her in small doses at a time. Um, and she was a considerable amount of strife in the beginning of our relationship. She's been kind of moved out of the way. Um,
So we have layers.
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Most people do. And we can work through layers. I think you guys, I just thank you for being open, being honest, being forthcoming, and honestly going all in. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to us meeting again, and kind of just unpacking some of it and talking through how to you guys to move to the next step and reach your goal, the goal that you identified about communication and how you guys can partner better and communicate better with one another. Any questions before we close?
No, I think it was good. We appreciate you taking the time to help us see a visual board, basically, of where we need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna stop.
Okay.
Stop.